Bluezone FX again. Today we'll be taking a deep dive into the GBPUSD, seeing what we'll be expecting for the week, looking at the fundamentals and the technicals that will necessarily be dictating where the GBPUSD will be this week, and major news coming in that the government has officially opened after it has finally passed the bill. So now trading will be a little bit more easier with NFP coming up this week. So there's a lot of news that we need to be actually looking at. So stay tuned and let's jump right into it. So looking at the GBPUSD, externally, much hasn't changed as this has still been our range. Looking at it, we've still been having a bearish range, but then internally, when we look at this year, we've had significant bullish momentum with a change of character, seeing right about here at the zone. We've necessarily broken structure, and we had a break of structure, clear identified break of structure to the upside, which is where most people were going to fetch more orders. As we can see, market had a change of character to the upside, but then is now going into a stage where it's retracing back to the equilibrium to necessarily maybe fetch more orders to push to the upside, or fetch more orders to necessarily push to the downside. Those are two things that could happen. So we won't necessarily be focusing that much on the external, but rather we'll be focusing on the internal, seeing how the market has been moving. So taking a deep dive into the market, we see a bit more cleaner structure than the Euro USD. As we can see, significant bullish momentum with it coming back every single time to fill the imbalance. As we can see here, price broke above, came back to fill the imbalance. Price broke above, had the first change of character to indicate that we might be entering a bullish market. As we can see right now, you can see from this one move that it was an indication that we are now entering a breakout structure and an uptrend, and the market continued that same trend until it necessarily, I can't say it broke it because it didn't have a clear breakout structure to the downside, but if you were to count wicks, this would be one zone right here, which is pretty significant to count it as a breakout structure. But due to me, I count big significant zones that have a pullback and then go back up to the zone and cross it, such as this one. It had a pullback down, crossed it back up to show us that we are indeed in a change of character. But this was too small for me to necessarily count it. But if you're an aggressive, if you're very aggressive in your technicals, you can necessarily count it. But due to me, I won't count it, so we'll just leave it like that. So internally, the market has been a range bounding, but I can't say it's been range bounding for quite a while. It's been range bounding for 2-3 weeks, but ever since the 20th of October, the market has now picked up its momentum, deciding where it's wanting to go. We can see that we are now in a bearish internal trend, but even though we've been bullish for the year, we're having an internal retracement, possibly to this zone or this hourly zone as well, or maybe to this zone, but I doubt we'll reach this zone by the end of the year. Maybe the second quarter of next year if price decides to move like that. But if price continues to the upside, we have some very good key zones to worry about, such as this internal weak high and this daily strong high. Those are the two ones which will be very important. This one very important this week, and this one possibly throughout the end of the year going into next year. So we'll be taking close attention into what the daily is giving us, because weekly we can see the internal move is still bullish with a slight pullback. So now we're necessarily waiting for a change of character or break of structure to indicate clearly on the weekly where we will be going. That price isn't necessarily in a downtrend because price recently broke structure right here. if you can count it, I could count it on the daily, as daily is more refined than the weekly. Weekly we just see larger wicks, but daily we can see cleaner movements. As we can see, we are in a change of character as a broken structure to the downside. I could consider this as my strong low, my strong high, and my daily strong high. Looking at the daily, we could see 3 days where price necessarily failed to break below its zone. So there was a lot of buy limit orders that were pushing price to the upside. So price necessarily has been failing to cross below the zone. I can also see this by using cumulative delta. That's what I usually trade. You can see that throughout these 3 days, price necessarily has been failing and couldn't keep its momentum. So it's been shifted each and every single time. It has come with a bearish momentum. Price has been halted and then it has been pushed back up. But what I would say, like this week, the most important thing is to focus on my fundamentals, which is CPI, which is coming out very soon. And then we also have retail sales and PMI that are coming out. But the most important one is CPI, because CPI is going to be dictating heavily where the GBP USD will be moving. Also considering that NFP is coming out after the government has finally opened. So those are the two big ones to necessarily be focusing on the GBP USD, because either one could move the market anyway. Because if there's good CPI for the GBP USD, we could be targeting this orderly bulk, which has been retested a couple times, like we can see 1, 2, and 3 times, or we can be testing this strong high. My price could necessarily come up, retrace, test it, come back to the zone, and then continue to push back up. Like it can just do this. Wait, price can just do this. Price can just do this, retest it, retest, and then continue to push back to the upside. That's what price is most likely to do. But then if price doesn't do that, price can just come back out here, because there's a lot of sell orders right here. Price could necessarily just come out, take them out, retrace back, and then continue to the downside to fetch more orders, possibly on this order zone. So that's also a possibility that could happen in the market. So just keep a close eye on that. But I would say just watch out for news and watch what news will be saying for this week. So keep close attention to the CPI and the NFP. But at least we can know our structure now is on a bearish momentum, but then price is necessarily going to wait for the CPI and NFP to come out. So if you don't trade those two, I'd say you can trade a little bit carefully, because the market tends to thin out when major news comes out, like NFP, since it hasn't been out for 43 days. So you might want to be careful trading the next 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, before NFP comes out. But you can trade after NFP if you're very good at it. But then if you're a beginner, I likely suggest you do not do that. You can do something else. So let me now take a look at the 4-hour zone. Taking a look at our 4-hour, we can clearly see what price has been doing. We can all see right now that price has been failing to necessarily break below this low, as there were multiple buy limit orders each and every single time price has been trying to break below, that were halting the price and pushing it back up. And also news coming out that the government has officially passed a bill also helped it to push the news back up. But price will likely range bound for the next 1 or 2 days till CPI and NFP comes out, to then give us a clear and indefinite move of what the market will be doing for us. But then key zones I necessarily want to watch out for on the 4-hourly zone before NFP or after NFP is 32 and possibly 30. Those are the high support and resistance zone, our 30 being the support zone and our 32 being the resistance zone, and that's where price has been ranging since. So yeah, that's what I can say about the GBP USD. For the week, you can look for short-term buys with a change of character likely to happen any minute to continue back to the downside, so keep that in mind. But as a scalper, we're trying to catch small positions, so if you can catch the 5-minute zones, you should be good. As we can see, price recently just opened. It's been a little bit bullish. Sorry, trying to fix mine. As we can see, price recently opened. It's not really been good, but Asian session is not that worrying, so I'd say keep a close eye on what price will do for the rest of the day. If price continues on a downtrend, look for sell entries once price has necessarily broken below those two lows or has created clean enough structure for you to necessarily entering on a short position. So if you can do that, there's a lot of money to be made. But yeah, like and subscribe if you like my videos. See you on the next one.